everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is Amhara Media Corporation, Amhara TV News. I'm Gaila Damu. Stay with us. Prosperity Party President said efforts will further be intensified to transform Ethiopia. Prosperity Party President and the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Prosperity Party will intensify its ongoing efforts to transform Ethiopia by turning challenges into opportunities. Mordomuli has the details.
The ruling party First Emergency General Assembly is underway in Hawassa, Sidama region. Some 1,116 General Assembly members have been taking part in the two-day emergency meeting. During the meeting, President of the party, Abiy Ahmed, said the party has successfully accomplished most of the decisions passed in its first regular General Assembly. Noting that the nation had encountered several challenges, including the third-round conflict in the north after the General Assembly, he said that the party has registered success and lifted the country to a higher level. Citing one of the resolutions passed by the First General Assembly to export wheat as an example, the President pointed out that the nation will accordingly begin exporting wheat this Ethiopian fiscal year. The activities carried out to implement the directions put forward at the General Assembly signify the fact that it is possible to register success by turning challenges into opportunities, Abiy noted. Although Prosperity Party was established only a few years ago, it's now become one of the continentally and internationally recognized parties in terms of number of membership, he added. The President stressed the need to curb narrations that have been obstacles to development, noting that Ethiopia is a nation with immense prospect for growth. Underlining that history should not be a source of conflict and differences, Abiy pointed out that one should instead strive not to repeat the mistakes and make efforts to bring a better tomorrow by drawing lessons. The President also called on members to exert utmost effort with a view to effectively realizing the activities underway to build a better Ethiopia by turning challenges into opportunities. Moreover, he stressed the party's commitment to effectively implement directions to be set by the Emergency General Assembly. Prosperity Party Deputy President Amhara said the party has made achievements in terms of responding to the demands of the people.
The European Union yesterday has signed a €35 million grant with the World Bank to be dispersed through the latter to support the Ethiopian government's Rural Productive Safety Net program. Abebe Brahani tells us more.
European Union Ambassador to Ethiopia Ronald Kobia and World Bank Operations Manager Dreama Petersku signed the grant in Addis Ababa in the presence of State Minister of Finance for Economic Cooperation Samrata Soaso. State Minister of Finance for Economic Cooperation Samrata Soaso said the peace agreement opens a new chapter for Ethiopia. She noted that the support will be critical to the people, especially in the conflict areas.
We will continue to partner with the European Union in this program, but also in other areas of cooperation. Mr. Ambassador, you rightly pointed out the peace agreement opens a new chapter for Ethiopia. This support will be critical in also reaching people. Once again, my hope that we will continue to collaborate more in other areas also that require support in ensuring that the peace agreement materialize and also the people benefit from the peace dividends that we await.
Ambassador Ronald Kobia, on his part, said the grant for the fifth phase of Productive Safety Net program comes following the landmark peace agreement and cessation of hostility that we hope will open a new chapter in the country. He further said that the agreement will attract all the goodwill of partners that are able and willing to contribute to the reconstruction and recovery efforts being undertaken by the government of Ethiopia.
We would like to say that we are very happy that this comes at a moment where we have welcomed and congratulated the government of Ethiopia for the cessation of hostilities agreement that is really a landmark agreement and that we hope opens a new chapter, a new phase in the country, and that will attract all the goodwill of all the partners that are able and willing to contribute to the reconstruction and recovery of Ethiopia.
The European Union has supported the Productive Safety Net Program initiative since its inception, he noted, adding that the European Union has remained among Ethiopia's largest bilateral assistance partners, investing over $60 million in the last 5 years to the Safety Net Program. He noted that since 2005, the European Union has contributed over €300 million.
So we are very pleased to continue together to build on that success, this long-standing partnership and success. And of the 4 preceding PSNP phases, which improve food security and nutrition as well as resilience in poor and vulnerable communities.
World Bank Operations Manager Duima Peterscu on her part said Productive Safety Net Program is the largest safety net program in sub-Saharan Africa.
I also want to congratulate the government of Ethiopia and the European Union for reaching this very important milestone and for continuing our long-standing partnership in support of Ethiopia's flagship national poverty reduction program. I don't know if you all know, but it is the largest safety net program in sub-Saharan Africa. And it provides cash, food transfers to about 8 million people in Ethiopia, contributing directly to poverty reduction, to livelihood support, and also to climate change adaptation through the public works that is being doing in rural areas.
That was reported by Muaddo Muliye, and we apologize for not mentioning the right reporter. Economic Commission for Africa Acting Executive Secretary Antonio Pedro said that Africa's demands are increasingly becoming more complex in nature and will require new sets of skills and forms of partnership. We have more.
Opening the 3 days Economic Commission for Africa Expo 2022 yesterday, the acting executive secretary said the strategic role of the Commission needs to evolve in equal measures to match the continent's current and future demands as they strive to support the member states to realize the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2063 goals. He added that the complexity and dynamism of opportunities and challenges facing the continent present a further challenge for decision makers tasked with formulating strategies and policies they effectively address interconnected and interdependent problems. Pedro stressed that
we need to acknowledge that the continent's demands are increasingly becoming more complex in nature and will require new sets of skills and forms of partnerships.
Regarding the need for new and strengthened partnership to address the new complex and interconnected challenges and harness opportunities, he said that
we need to forge new partnerships to bring in other players, including private investors and civil society, while striving to strengthen existing ones. We must embrace innovative and disruptive thinking to provide practical solutions to real-life challenges affecting our member states, now and in the future. Knowledge sharing and open dialogue with our esteemed clients are some ways of nurturing collaborative innovation.
The Economic Commission for Africa Expo 2022 showcases diverse products, tangible and non-tangible, from divisions and sub-regional offices.
According to the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, more funding and collaborations are needed for life-saving interventions, health and social delivery system recovery in the conflict-affected areas of Ethiopia. Brown Workana has the details.
United Nations Population Fund Humanitarian Program Coordinator James Okarawanyama told INA that conflict and drought in Ethiopia have caused destruction and crisis to the health system and exposed women and girls to violations. He added the fund has been tackling the violations by working with stakeholders and partners. Wanyama noted there are many elements of gender-based violence that they are tackling, from female genital mutilation to early child marriage and sexual violence, and the crisis has exposed a lot of women and girls to a lot of violations, and one of the most deadly violations is sexual violence. According to him, women have really been exposed to risks of gender-based violence in all forms in most of the conflict-affected regions and even in the drought regions. He elaborated that there is an increase in early child marriages in Afar and Somali regions as well as in some parts of Oromia. Also, we saw a lot of sexual violence in the conflict-affected areas of Tigray, Amhara, Afar, Benshangul Gumuz and other regions. It was learned that United Nations Population Fund have been working on preventing gender-based violence from happening and providing a package of services after they happen in collaboration with stakeholders and partners since 2020 with a strategic plan. The fund has reportedly invested about $20 million to support 5 regions with services and equipment supplies this year. The 5 core regions are Afar, Amhara, Benshangul Gumuz, Somali and Tigray regions. According to Wanyama, nearly half of the money they have mentioned has actually gone to equipment and supply. Nearly $10 million of our intervention this year has gone to that. So it is quite a large program, but it is so far like a drop in the ocean. More needs to be done. There are significant gaps. Referral equipment like ambulance have been looted or destroyed. There is a need for them to work together collectively, the national and local governments, to actually revamp the health system. The humanitarian program coordinator stressed the need for the government, stakeholders and partners to work together in rebuilding the health system in most of these areas that have been ravaged by war and drought. He stated that as United Nations Population Fund, they ask for more resources, especially to continue ensuring those life-saving interventions for mothers and girls wherever they are, and continue as they also work on supporting the health system to recover, because those two things have to go together now. And he added, they cannot afford a situation where they just focus on one and leave the other. Wanyama revealed that United Nations Population Fund has requested $45 million for 2023. The program coordinator said United Nations Population Fund put out an appeal to stakeholders and donors to support their sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence interventions around the country. In 2023, they are appealing for $45 million to help them provide life-saving interventions, as well as helping to support the recovery of the health system and social delivery systems in the affected regions. The fund is implementing 3 transformative results, namely working with stakeholders and partners around the country to end maternal deaths, gender-based violence and harmful practices, and meet needs for family planning, as well as other complementary interventions.
United Nations Population Fund donates 10 ambulances to 4 health bureaus of Ethiopia. The United Nations Population Fund handed over 10 high-spec ambulances procured with funding from the government of Canada, Ireland and Japan to 4 regions of Ethiopia. Fikradi Zaudu has the story.
Of the total 10 ambulances, 3 ambulances were transferred to the Tigray and Amhara regions each, while 2 were given to Afar and Benshangul Gumuz regions. United Nations Population Fund representative Susan Mandong signed the ambulance transfer agreement with Health Minister Dr. Leah Tadesse in the presence of the ambassadors of the 3 countries and the representatives of the region. Susan Mandong said that United Nations Population Fund handed over 10 ambulances purchased with the generous funding of Canada, Ireland and Japan to the 4 regions. The support of the 3 governments has been very critical to UNFPA's effort in meeting the increasing demands of life-saving emergency sexual and reproductive interventions in humanitarian settings. Health Minister Dr. Leah Tadesse on her part recognized the timely and critical support from Canada, Ireland and Japan. Leah explained the 10 ambulances for regions of Amhara, Afar, Tigray and Benshangul Gumuz will have a great impact in really addressing and preventing maternal and neonatal morbidity and mortality, managing the effects and consequences of sexual violence or gender-based violence, and supporting the one-stop centers which are expanding in the different regions and providing overall sexual and reproductive health services. The minister said the past few years have been very challenging for Ethiopia as a country country where people have faced different conflicts in many parts of the country, which has caused great damage to many public and private health institutions, which have devastated not only the health system but exposed millions of people who are served by these institutions, but also displaced many communities, and much of the affected population are primarily women, children, and girls. Different conflicts in many parts of the country have caused great damage to public and private health institutions. The ministry has been responding to emergency and humanitarian needs and restoration in collaboration with many of its partners and stakeholders. She said, so far the restoration and rehabilitation of the health system are yielding positive and encouraging results. Although the country has a long way to go, many of the affected facilities have started providing at least basic essential services. It was indicated that while Canada funded the purchase of the 6 ambulances, Japan and Ireland funded 2 ambulances each.
Sustainable government project is to establish Center of Excellence that enhances knowledge of policy coherence. Addis Ababa University project coordinator Aklilu disclosed that Sustainable Government Project, a joint project of University of Oslo and Addis Ababa University, has a plan to establish a Center of Excellence that enhances knowledge to address policy coherence and synergy among various government policies. Ababa Prani presents the story.
The joint project organized a roundtable discussion under the theme Policy Coherence for Achieving Sustainable Development Goals in Ethiopia with members of the House of People's Representatives who represented the various standing committees. Speaking on the occasion, Addis Ababa University project coordinator Aklilu Amsalu said, the universities have a plan to establish a center of excellence that enhances knowledge of the legislative body to identify lack of policy coherence and synergy among various government policies. He stressed that policy coherence and synergy between various government institutions is vital to achieve sustainable development goals. Addis Ababa University has already started activities to establish a center of excellence that supports the achievement of sustainable development goals. The Center of Excellence would offer short and long-term training up to third degree level. It was learned that the training will be accessible to government institutions and development drivers.
Today we organized a roundtable discussion with members of Ethiopian Parliament. And actually this activity is part of our initiative related to a project on the governance of sustainable development goals. So at Addis Ababa University we have already a project that started last year on the governance of sustainable development goals. So one of the objectives of this project is to carry out short-term capacity building activities targeting various actors, in which the members of parliament as legislators are our key actors. So we wanted to discuss with them on several issues related to some of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as you have seen today, the theme of our discussion was on policy coherence for achieving sustainable development goals in Ethiopia. So there are quite a number of issues related to policy coherence at the policy level as well as at the practice level. So this discussion, we expect that will come up with very interesting experiences and practices that would help us to foster our endeavors towards achieving sustainable development goals in our country.
According to the coordinator, the Center of Excellence will also conduct studies and researches that are useful for policymakers. Akilu elaborated that the SustGov project is aimed at influencing and building public policy and further strengthening research, educational and administrative capacity in Ethiopia to enhance the capacity of legislative body and media in particular. He stated that the project will focus on contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals being implemented in Ethiopia. House of People's Representatives Water, Irrigation and Lowland Area Affairs Deputy Chairman Awok Amzai said on his part that the duty of the Parliament is to formulate laws and control the executive body, whether the laws formulated are properly applied by the executive body. Bringing coordination and synergy between different lines of ministries is therefore vital for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
It's very important because discussing and actually bringing synergy between line ministries is a very important issue for development. And coordination between line ministries is very crucial for sustainable development. So by getting some information from this discussion at this forum, we can use the information to inform actually line ministries to review their policies and actually make coordination between different departments.
You're watching AMECO Haber English service, and now let's proceed to news beyond borders. Malian authorities say at least 100 people have been killed in several days of fighting over territory between Daesh and local Al-Qaeda in the east of the country. Local government officials have said that dozens of civilians have been killed over several days of heavy fighting between rival terrorist organizations in Mali's Restiv East. Authorities say on Thursday that hundreds of civilians have also been displaced as terrorists linked to Daesh have been clashing with local Al-Qaeda affiliates over territory in the regions of Gao and Menaka, as TRT World reported. United Nations says in the latest episode of fighting in South Sudan's Upper Nile state that started in mid-November, over 9,000 people had been displaced. The UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, said that in a statement on Wednesday, the latest bloodshed is a continuation of fighting that started in August in a village in Upper Nile and has spread to other parts of the state in areas of Jonglei and Unity states. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said in the latest episode of fighting in the Fashoda County that started in mid-November, some 9,100 people had been displaced, as TRT World reported. Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa said Zimbabweans will see a vast improvement in electricity supplies in 2023 as the government removes barriers to power generation investments in the country. Bukradi Zaudu presents CGTN Africa report.
In his weekly column in the state-run Sunday Mail, Mnangagwa said the government would take extraordinary measures to ensure that Zimbabwe does not have severe power shortages. The country has been experiencing severe power shortages with its people of electricity for up to 18 hours a day after power generation was curtailed at the Anchor power station on Lake Kariba due to low water levels and continuous breakdowns at the Hwange thermal power station. The president said the country must plan for power as if Kariba is discounted, noting that he has already instructed the government to remove all entry barriers to new investments in the energy sector. An energy expert who declined to be named said there is a need for more investments in new power stations while the government has to take care of the macroeconomic environment and ensure that the investors are not forced to change sub-economic tariffs. He said that so many projects have been licensed but they have not been commissioned, but as long as the state power utility ZESA Holdings wants to pay for the power in local currencies, there will be no problems. Chinese company Sino Hydro is installing 2 new generators at Hwange, adding another 600 megawatt between December and early 2023. Aside from hydropower generation, which has been affected by continuous droughts and changes in the ecosystem, the country will be looking to other power sources such as solar, wind, and methane gas. In the interim, it will have to make do with power imports from neighboring countries such as Mozambique, which is still in a position to export some of its energy.
This is AMECO Haber English service, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.